In this video, we're going to talk about sacred geometry. This is going to be a little bit of an introduction to it, so we will be talking about what it is and how it works. This is a topic that can be extremely interesting, and it can definitely take you down a rabbit hole once you start to get into it. It's obviously something that is used heavily by certain groups that hold a lot of power. On this channel, we look into and analyze these occult ideas in order to gain an understanding of our own personal power. So let's get into this topic of sacred geometry. This is a way of exploring and studying the patterns of life. It's a way of exploring the patterns of consciousness and creation. Sacred geometry has been used to create magnificent works of art, build awe-inspiring constructions and architecture, and gain a deeper understanding of divinity. Sacred geometry is something that is very commonly used within rituals. There's an idea that the Creator created the universe according to a geometric plan, and learning about the geometry of creation can be a very powerful way in harnessing this creative energy. The use and study of this topic goes really far back. We can see this in ancient Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt, and we can see it within many other cultures. Ancient Greece was able to really take this topic and run with it in a very philosophical way. You can see sacred geometry within Buddhist traditions, you can see it within ancient Indian culture, and you can see it in Christianity and in the other Abrahamic religions. When you look into the sacred geometry and see the connections within all of the religions and traditions, you start to really unravel the esoteric underpinnings of these ideas. You begin to see how all of the religions and traditions are pointing to specific truths, and those truths aren't things that you can obtain from the religion itself. This truth is something that's inside of you. This is about you and your power to create. I think that it's so interesting how we see geometrical shapes and attribute them to a specific religion, and then when we look deeper, we find them in several religions and traditions. When we uncover the meaning of the symbols and find out more about their usage, we can see that they are conveying the same idea. These symbols can be used in many ways to work with the subconscious. Learning about sacred geometry will show you how the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. There's this idea that the universe is this consciousness that throws itself into reality as it creates it. This intelligence imprints its pattern into its creation, and this is like giving it the blueprint to create more. This is reminiscent of the saying that we are all made in the image of our Creator. It's only natural that we create things with the same blueprint as well. This intelligence can be seen in patterns of speech within language and letters. It can be found in music, mathematics, human anatomy, DNA, frequencies, and light and colors. These are all things that we can work with to have an effect on our consciousness. Because of this consciousness that is dwelling within everything, we may notice that everything in the universe has this powerful energy, and it has some effect on our consciousness. Really think about it. The shapes that we see have this subconscious effect on us. Form in of itself is resonant energy. Architecture can really move us and make us feel many different ways. This is all lines, curves, and the intelligent placement of them. Art can move us and convey powerful ideas. It's just lines, curves, angles, and colors. But it has a resonant energy and conveys an idea that we can understand. A lot of these resonant energies can move us in a less conscious way. For example, if you've ever seen a piece of art and felt a sense of joy or even fear, but the cause of this joy or fear wasn't anything specific within the art that you can point out. This is just hitting us on an emotional level and a subconscious level. This is the power of the resonant energy of form. This is why creating sigils and talismans within magic can be so powerful and effective. It's because we're taking an idea and marrying it with a geometric pattern that we're creating.
And this is why you see logos that have such distinct shapes and distinct patterns that can be found everywhere when you start looking for these things. And this is kind of what I was saying earlier, where these things are all around us, literally in every piece of media that we look. If we look hard enough, we can find these symbols. And supposedly it's placed there by enlightened individuals that are kind of nodding or winking at each other. I don't know, what are your thoughts on all this?
We are blending our energy with it and charging it with an intention. It's a way of projecting our consciousness into the object. We've talked a bit about how sacred geometry contains the patterns of creation and how it has an effect on our consciousness. Let's get into some of the basic shapes and their meanings. This will hopefully help you with decoding symbolism that you see in very common places, and it can also be helpful when it comes to creating your own symbolism. Let's go over the circle. One of the most obvious things that you might see is that the circle is representing eternal energy. There is no real beginning or end. This is just repetition. It is representing cycles. The circle can represent perfection, it shows us spirit energy, and it can represent the eternal nature of the universe. The circle is also representing this spaciousness where anything can be born. So this is also a symbol of the womb. The circle grows life and it grows consciousness and spirit. Talking a little bit about the triangle, we can see that we obviously have 3 points, and if we're talking about the equilateral triangle, then each of these angles are equal to each other. It's said that the triangle is the building block of the universe. There are many things that come to mind when looking at a triangle. This can show us alchemy, creating results and transformation. You can label each angle with beginning, middle, and end, generation, order, and destruction. You can talk about Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. One of the things that I've talked a lot about on this channel is thoughts, feelings, and actions. You can label this with mind, body, and spirit. If we're talking about consciousness, then we're talking about seeing the transformation and modalities of creation. Thoughts have a huge impact on our feelings, and the feelings and thoughts will influence our actions and the way that we act. The actions create results, and all of these program the subconscious mind and influence our beliefs and self-perception. This is then internalized and has an effect on our thoughts and feelings and actions all over again. This causes change and transformation. The idea is that these 3 things need to be in balance and they need to have harmony in order to have the best results. The triangle can represent progressing in life through using that process or descending in life through using that process. Another shape that we see often is the square. This represents stability, and you can relate this to the 4 corners of a building or the 4 corners to a strong foundation. This is also a good representation of the 4 elements. The whole point of the 4 elements is supposed to be an idea that shows how spirit or consciousness manifests itself into form. This brings us to the meaning of the square, which is form. It's the symbol for the body. We use these 4 elements and the balance of them to create a strong foundation to build our life and physical reality on. The triangle shows us how we build, transform, and ascend, but the square shows us how we solidify our reality and keep building on top of that foundation. These 4 elements are earth, the physical body, air, the mental body, water, the emotional body, and fire, the spiritual body. These are the 4 aspects of our consciousness that directly affects our ability to feel stable. If we take these 3 shapes that we just had discussed, the circle, the triangle, and the square, and put them together, then we have the Philosopher's Stone. The idea or myth is that this Philosopher's Stone is related to transforming base metals into gold, or that this is some elixir of immortality. The truth is that this is about transformation, but this is about spiritual transformation. This is about the transformation of consciousness. We have the circle at the center, and this is our spiritual or eternal consciousness. Then the square, which is our foundations on which we build our transformation. The triangle is how we change the consciousness and affect the reality around us. And all of this is within another circle representing the divine spirit that we are within. The spiral is a symbol that we see a lot within nature. One of the most notable things that we might think of with this symbol is the spiral of the galaxy. We have a point at the center which spirals out something and expands. We need to talk about the Fibonacci sequence or this golden spiral. We can see this play out with the sunflowers and other plants. We can see it within fruits, pine cones, hurricanes, and of course within galaxies. I also think that this is a pattern of consciousness. This is how we truly grow and expand, which is the whole message of the symbol. In the middle, we have 1 and 1, which make 2. We add the sum of the parts with the previous number, so 1 and 2 will make 3. Again, we will add the sum with the previous number, so 2 and 3 will make 5. Then 3 and 5 will make 8. And this keeps going and expansion occurs. As expansion keeps playing out, we keep growing larger with more ease. This is also the pattern of self-development. As you change your thoughts for the better, and your feelings and your actions, your results are internalized, solidifying the new identity, and this continues to influence your thoughts, feelings, and actions. This is like adding the sum to the latest action, and it continues your expansion, which gets easier and larger over time. The last thing that we'll talk about here is the Vesica Piscis. It looks like a Venn diagram. It's two circles that are interlocking. I get a little bit more into this symbol in my video titled The Secret Truth Behind the All-Seeing Eye, and you can click the top right corner of this video to watch that if you'd like, or it's also linked in the description. The idea is that the circle is representing spirit or consciousness, and this consciousness replicates itself. It's that idea that consciousness creates reality and throws itself into it. The place in the middle is where this divine union exists. It's the place where the creator and the creation are one and the same. The place in the middle is the Vesica Piscis, and you can see the symbol in a lot of places within art, architecture, and around famous monuments. This is about the awareness that's behind all things, the substance that connects all and where this illumination happens. This is why it's associated with the all-seeing eye. It can also resemble female anatomy, which is representing the birth or the coming into being of something, and of course, solidifying the idea that for the moment the creator and the creation are still one. It is in this space that something can actually come forth into being.
Sacred geometry is always a really interesting topic to me, and once you are on the lookout for it, how you can just see it everywhere. Great video. I'll go ahead and link this one down below as always.